In the beginning, before the first mountain rose from the earth or the first breath of wind stirred across an empty sky, there was only a vast, silent void, a sea of nothingness without light, form, or name. From this formless expanse emerged three divine beings whose arrival shattered the eternal stillness: Din, the goddess of power; Nehru, the goddess of wisdom; and Furor, the goddess of courage. These golden goddesses descended from realms beyond mortal comprehension, their bodies composed of pure celestial radiance, trailing long arcs of shimmering energy through the endless dark. Their purpose was singular yet monumental: to create a world where life could flourish, where order could grow from chaos, and where balance would harmonize all things. Din, fierce and blazing like a crimson star, moved first. With a sweep of her immense arms, she forged the land, pulling continents from the void and shaping the foundation of what would become Hyrule. Her power ignited the world's fiery core, raising mountain ranges toward the heavens and carving deep valleys that would one day cradle forests, lakes, and civilizations. The earth trembled beneath her creative force, molding stone and soil into a stable cradle for future life. Nehru followed, her presence calm and shimmering with blue-white luminance. From her robes flowed the laws of nature and the essence of wisdom. She shaped time, ensuring that days would follow nights and seasons would cycle eternally. She created order, harmony, and the logic that governed the world. It was she who gave structure to Din's raw creation, weaving meaning into the land and establishing the universal truths that would guide civilizations for millennia. Then came Furor, vibrant and green like the breath of spring. In her hands she carried the seeds of life, scattering them across the freshly shaped land. From her power came all living beings, plants that covered the mountains and plains, creatures that filled the forests and oceans, and the first races that would one day walk beneath the sun and moon. Furor's creations were diverse, unpredictable, and filled with the spirit of possibility, for she gave life not only bodies but hearts capable of courage, compassion, and growth. When their sacred work was complete, Din, Nehru, and Furor gathered in the center of the newborn world. As they prepared to depart, they forged from their combined essence a relic unlike any other, the Triforce. This divine artifact contained the purest crystallized form of the goddess's strength, embodying power, wisdom, and courage in perfect equilibrium. The golden goddesses placed the Triforce within a sanctum between worlds, a luminous plane known as the Sacred Realm. From there, the Triforce would influence the destiny of the world without direct divine intervention, for although the goddesses created Hyrule, they vowed never again to interfere directly with mortal affairs. The Triforce would instead judge mortals by the desires in their hearts, granting unimaginable power to those who touched it. But its gift was dangerous. It did not distinguish between good intention and destructive ambition, as the goddesses ascended back into the heavens. Their sacred energy echoed across creation, their departure marking the true beginning of Hyrule's long and tumultuous history. Yet even in their absence, the world quivered with divine residue, and the sacred realm pulsed with the golden light of the Triforce, waiting for the first being who would seek its power. It was then that the mantle of guardianship fell upon a new figure, the Goddess Hylia, a lesser deity appointed to protect the world and safeguard the Triforce from beings who would seek to corrupt it. Hylia descended into Hyrule as a radiant spirit, her form gentle yet formidable, carrying the sacred responsibility of maintaining balance. She foresaw that the Triforce, in all its majesty, would attract forces of darkness, and thus she vowed to protect both the sacred realm and its inhabitants. Under Hylia's vigil, the early world matured. Mountains settled into their eternal resting places, rivers carved paths across the land, and Furor's earliest creations multiplied and adapted. Many early civilizations emerged, some destined to thrive, others to vanish into myth. These ancient tribes lived in the shadow of divine miracles, sensing the lingering presence of the golden goddesses in the wind, stars, and shifting soil. But Hyrule's peace was not eternal. From the deepest corners of the void, awakened by the power left behind by the goddesses, rose Demise, the Demon King. His hatred was ancient, older than language or thought, and his ambition was absolute. He sought dominion over all creation and possession of the Triforce. Demise gathered an army of monstrous beings, twisted abominations forged from shadow and malice, and launched the first great assault upon the world. His arrival marked the first time Hyrule experienced true terror. The skies turned red, the land cracked open under the weight of war, and mortals trembled as the demon host marched across the fields. Hylia, seeing the destruction, realized that her presence alone would not be enough to defend the world. She rallied the early races, guiding them with visions and divine signs, urging them to stand against Demise's overwhelming army. She empowered heroes, blessed weapons, and forged alliances among tribes that had never before cooperated, though Hyrule was still young and its people fragile. Their courage ignited like wildfire under Hylia's leadership. The war that followed was the first great conflict in Hyrule's history, a battle so monumental its echoes would shape the destiny of countless future generations. Hylia personally clashed with Demise, wielding celestial power against his infernal strength. Their battles tore rifts through the land, scarring the earth in ways that would remain visible for ages. Realizing that the mortal world could not withstand the intensity of their conflict, Hylia made a fateful decision. She lifted a portion of the land into the sky, creating a sanctuary above the clouds for the surviving mortals. This floating refuge would one day be known as Skyloft. Meanwhile, she sealed the surface world, trapping Demise below and preventing further destruction, but at great personal cost. Exhausted and knowing her divine form would not last, she vowed to reincarnate into a mortal body to ensure that she could fight alongside the people she was sworn to protect. Demise, bound by Hylia's seal but not yet defeated, uttered a curse that would haunt the world for eternity, that his hatred would be reborn again and again, endlessly pursuing the spirit of the hero and the bloodline of the goddess. This curse became the foundation of Hyrule's cyclical fate, the eternal clash between courage, wisdom, and power. When the dust settled and Hylia's divine light began to fade, the sacred realm remained intact, still housing the untouched Triforce. The world, though scarred, survived. Life continued, shaped forever by Hylia's sacrifice and Demise's curse. And so began the eternal story of Hyrule, a kingdom forged by gods, protected by a goddess who became mortal, and fated to cycle through eras of peace and devastation, each influenced by the choices of its people and the unyielding pull of the Triforce. This was the true beginning, the origin of all legends, the moment the Kingdom of Hyrule took its first breath under the golden glow of creation. After the golden goddesses departed and the Triforce remained in the sacred realm, the newly formed world entered an age of delicate balance. Hyrule was still young, its foundations soft, its people fragile, and its destiny unwritten. Yet even in this early age, a shadow began to take form, one born not from the goddesses' creation, but from the chaos that existed before their arrival. This shadow was Demise, the primordial demon king whose hatred transcended time itself. His presence was like a storm growing beneath the surface of reality, slow, silent, and inevitable. Across the land, early civilizations flourished under Hylia's gentle guidance. She watched over them as both guardian and mother, teaching them to cultivate the land, respect the laws of nature, and honor the divine relics left behind by the goddesses. Her form shimmered across the sky like a protective aurora, and the earliest tribes built shrines and monuments to her honor. These early races, Hylians, pre-Sheikah mystics, ancient forest dwellers, and nomadic sky watchers, lived in harmony, their cultures simple and peaceful. But the prosperity they enjoyed would soon attract the eyes of Demise, who lay dormant in the depths of the earth, gathering strength from the remnants of ancient chaos. Eventually, he awakened, driven by an all-consuming desire to dominate the world created by the goddesses and seize the Triforce for himself. The first signs of his awakening were subtle dark winds blowing from mountain caves, creatures mutating into twisted forms, and the land trembling with unnatural quakes. Animals fled from unseen predators, and strange red clouds formed over distant horizons. Hylia felt the disturbance immediately. The ground shuddered beneath her presence, and she sensed a hateful force rising from the abyss. She knew instantly that Demise was unlike any being encountered before. His essence was pure malice, his body forged from the chaos that existed before creation itself. As Demise surfaced, his gigantic form cast a shadow so vast it seemed to swallow the light. His eyes burned with fiery contempt, and his voice roared like 1,000 storms as he promised to bend the world to his will. Behind him surged an army of monstrous creatures born from darkness, formed from raw hatred, and shaped only by their desire to destroy. These were not creatures of Furor's life-giving power. They were beings of corruption and void, whose existence itself threatened the fragile world. Hylia confronted Demise, her radiant presence illuminating the battlefield like a second sun. But even as a goddess, she understood that destroying him outright would endanger the world itself. Demise was tied to ancient cosmic forces, and killing him might unravel the balance the golden goddesses had created. Instead, she prepared for a war that would become the first great calamity in Hyrule's history. Hylia summoned the mortals and lesser spirits who lived across the lands and sky. She taught them how to forge weapons blessed with divine power, how to use sacred symbols to ward off evil, and how to unite against a threat that sought to annihilate all creation. Under her guidance, the early races formed a unified army, combining their strengths, the Hylians' intelligence, the Sky Watchers' aerial knowledge, the Forest Dwellers' agility, and the ancient mystics' spiritual abilities. They stood not as tribes, but as one people, Hylia's chosen defenders. The first great war erupted with terrifying intensity. The skies darkened as Demise's monsters descended across the lands, crushing villages and fracturing the ground. Volcanoes erupted as if answering the Demon King's fury, and rivers boiled under the heat of his presence. The world Hylia had nurtured was being torn apart. Still, the mortals fought with courage unimaginable. Under Hylia's command, divine artifacts were crafted, blades imbued with sacred light, shields strengthened with magical inscriptions, and talismans that could repel dark energy. These relics would later become the basis for many legendary weapons and tools passed down through Hyrule's history. Even so, the war seemed unwinnable. Demise's power was overwhelming, and no mortal weapon could pierce his demonic armor. His swings shattered mountains. His rage burned forests to ash. Hylia herself confronted him in several monumental battles that scarred the land permanently. The craters, deep valleys, and cursed zones found in ancient maps were all remnants of their clashes. It was during one of these battles that Hylia realized the horrifying truth. If Demise reached the sacred realm, he would seize the Triforce. The golden goddesses had designed the relic so that any being touching it would have their wish granted, regardless of moral alignment. If Demise claimed it, he would remake the world in the image of darkness, extinguishing all life and rewriting creation. With no choice left, Hylia devised a desperate plan. She gathered the remaining survivors and lifted them, along with a massive piece of land, into the sky. This floating sanctuary would become Skyloft, a heaven-like refuge far above Demise's reach. The separation between the surface and Skyloft created a powerful barrier that even Demise struggled to penetrate. Hylia's chosen people survived, but the world below was ravaged. With the mortals safe in the sky, Hylia launched her final assault on Demise. Though weakened, she stood against him with unwavering resolve. The goddess fought not to kill him, for such a feat was nearly impossible, but to seal him away. Channeling every ounce of divine energy she possessed, Hylia managed to imprison Demise deep below the surface, binding him with celestial chains and sacred incantations. The earth swallowed his monstrous form, locking him in a prison of stone and magic. But this victory came at a devastating cost. Hylia's divine body was deeply damaged by the battle. She knew she would soon fade. Realizing that Demise's hatred would one day return either through resurrection or reincarnation, she made the most painful decision of her immortal existence. She gave up her divinity. She prepared a ritual that would allow her to reincarnate as a mortal, ensuring that when Demise rose again, she could stand alongside the people she loved not as a distant goddess but as a flesh and blood protector. Before executing the ritual, Hylia issued her final instructions to the surviving races. She entrusted sacred texts to the mystics, passed divine guardianship to the earliest Sheikah, and whispered prophecies that foretold an eternal cycle, a goddess reborn as a mortal princess, a hero chosen by destiny, and a manifestation of evil returning again and again. Demise, with his last ounce of consciousness before being sealed, uttered a curse that would echo throughout time itself, that his eternal hatred would reincarnate endlessly, pursuing Hylia's spirit and the hero chosen to defend her. This curse created the cycle that shaped all future eras of Hyrule, the eternal triangle of courage, wisdom, and power. When the ritual was complete, Hylia relinquished her divine form. Her luminous body dissolved into pure light, and her soul descended onto the mortal plane, destined to become the first in a long line of princesses whose legacy would guide Hyrule through triumph and tragedy. The era of gods had ended. The era of mortals and the story of the Kingdom of Hyrule had truly begun after sealing Demise deep beneath the surface and preparing her soul for mortal reincarnation. Hylia turned her final gaze toward the people she had lifted into the sky. This great mass of land, torn from the earth by her divine power, drifted above the clouds like an island suspended between heaven and mortal reality. Over time, this sacred refuge became known as Skyloft, a floating realm bathed in golden sunlight, where peaceful breezes carried the fragrance of untouched fields and rolling green hills. In the absence of Hylia's physical presence, Skyloft evolved into a self-sustaining world, a sanctuary where the inhabitants believed they lived in the only existing land, unaware of the devastated surface below. To protect them from the roaring storms and monstrous remnants of the First Great War, Hylia forged a magical barrier between the sky and the world beneath. This barrier acted as a veil that shielded Skyloft from all that lurked below, leaving its people to thrive in a reality of calm skies, gentle loft wings, and a life of harmony. Generations passed, and the people of Skyloft, though devout in their reverence for the goddess, forgot the full truth of their origins. They lived simple lives, raising families, learning swordplay at the Knight Academy, riding loft wings through the sky, and cherishing traditions handed down through the centuries. Among these traditions was the belief that the surface was a myth, a tale told to children, and that the goddess watched over them from the sky above. Loftwing's majestic birds capable of carrying humans became the proud companions of Skyloft's residents. Their bond was not merely practical. It was spiritual, as though the goddess had woven their destinies together. Over the years, Skyloft developed into a thriving community with its own culture, values, and legends. It was a peaceful existence, untouched by the horrors that once plagued the land below. But beneath the clouds, the surface remained in ruins. The scars of the war against Demise stretched across the land. Mountains cracked open by divine battles, fields burned by demonic fire, and temples shattered into dust. Though sealed, Demise's presence still radiated corruption throughout the earth, attracting monsters and tainting regions with pockets of malice. For centuries, no mortal had walked the surface. Forests grew wildly without guidance. Rivers changed their courses. Ancient ruins became overtaken by nature, and the remains of once prosperous tribes became mere echoes swallowed by time. Yet the world was not dead. Though damaged, the surface held a quiet, dormant power, waiting for the day it would be reclaimed. That day would come with the cycle Hylia herself had prepared, the reincarnation of her spirit and the birth of the chosen hero. From Hylia's divine essence and her mortal reincarnation plan was born the lineage that would eventually be known as the royal family of Hyrule. But at this early time in Skyloft's history, that legacy had not yet taken shape. The people lived in blissful ignorance of the destiny approaching them. Generations later, two young souls would continue the cycle Hylia had set into motion. A boy named Link and a girl named Zelda. Both were bound by a fate older than civilization itself. Link, reincarnation of the hero's spirit, bore a quiet strength, a courage unrecognized even by himself. Zelda, carrying Hylia's spirit within her mortal body, possessed wisdom, grace, and a faint echo of the goddess's power. They lived normal lives in Skyloft, unaware of the immense destiny awaiting them. It was only when the sealed surface began to stir when ancient forces awakened that the invisible wall between Skyloft and the surface cracked. A series of tremors shook the floating island. Strange creatures appeared in the sky. The clouds shifted unnaturally, and during one fateful ceremony honoring the goddess, a dark tornado emerged from nowhere, sweeping Zelda down toward the surface. Link witnessed the event in horror, but it was this moment that awakened his destiny. Guided by a mysterious figure in dreams, the manifestation of Hylia's lingering divine will, Link received the goddess sword, a blade forged by Hylia herself. The blade housed Fi, a spirit created to guide the chosen hero on the quest to restore balance to the world. With Fi's guidance, Link descended through the cloud barrier into the unknown, stepping onto the surface for the first time in generations. His feet touched ancient soil, covered in moss, tangled roots, and remnants of forgotten civilizations. The air was heavier, older, filled with the echoes of the war that had once ravaged the land. Link discovered a world that seemed both familiar and foreign, lands carved by battles, temples preserved by time, and creatures born from lingering malice. As he explored the surface, Link learned that Zelda had survived the fall but had become entangled in a far greater fate. Hylia's reincarnated spirit within her had begun to awaken, drawing her toward ancient temples where she would gradually recover the memories of her divine origin. These memories revealed the truth: she was the mortal vessel of the goddess, and she had been destined to seal Demise once and for all. Zelda's journey was marked by immense sacrifice. She was forced to shed her mortality temporarily, awakening as Hylia within a mortal shell. She witnessed the past, rediscovered her duty to protect the Triforce, and prepared herself for the hardships ahead. Yet even as she awakened her divine power, Zelda realized she could not complete her mission alone. Link, guided by Fi and strengthened through trials, became the embodiment of Furor's courage. He confronted monstrous guardians, explored sacred temples, and wielded divine power to prepare for the final battle against Demise's resurrection. The surface, slowly reclaiming its life, responded to Link's presence. Forests shimmered with new vitality, ancient ruins glowed with dormant magic, and even the corrupted regions began to show signs of healing. The goddess's plan was in motion. Skyloft, once a refuge, had become the cradle of rebirth for the kingdom that would one day be known as Hyrule. Link's battle against the resurrected Demise was fierce and world-shattering. Yet through determination, divine guidance, and the courage that had passed through countless cycles, he succeeded in defeating the Demon King as Demise fell. His curse echoed once more into the depths of time, ensuring that the cycle of hero, goddess, and demon would continue across eras. With Demise defeated, the barrier between Skyloft and the surface began to dissolve. Zelda, once again fully mortal, chose to return to the surface alongside Link. Their presence marked the official rebirth of civilization below. The people of Skyloft gradually followed, descending to explore the wide, fertile lands that had lay dormant for centuries. Under Zelda's leadership, wisdom flourished. Under Link's bravery, peace was maintained. Together, they guided the survivors in building the first villages, establishing early laws, and forming a new society upon the remnants of what came before. The surface, once scarred and broken, became the foundation of a new beginning. Over generations, these settlements evolved into towns. Towns grew into cities, and cities formed a united kingdom that honored the legacy of Hylia. That kingdom would one day be known throughout history, carrying stories of triumph, loss, sacrifice, and destiny as the Kingdom of Hyrule and thus, from the skies above to the earth below. The rebirth of Hyrule began, setting the stage for every legend that would follow. As the newly reborn world stabilized after Demise's fall, the surface slowly awakened from centuries of silence, and with it began the rise of civilizations whose influence would echo across every era of Hyrule's future. These were the first true societies, races not merely surviving but thriving, building culture, technology, language, and systems of magic that shaped the identity of the land. Among them, 3 stood above all others in mystery, power, and legacy: the Sheikah, the Zonai, and the Minish. Each civilization emerged from different origins, possessed different strengths, and contributed uniquely to the formation of the kingdom that would dominate history. Their stories intertwine like ancient vines rooted deep in the past, shaping the destiny of Hyrule long before the royal family erected its thrones or the hero of time ever drew breath, the Zonai. The oldest and perhaps most enigmatic of these civilizations predated almost all written memory. They were a warrior people, tall and physically powerful, marked by swirling green patterns across their architecture and artifacts. Their culture was steeped in mysticism, worshipping dragons and aligning themselves with the primal forces of nature. Some believed they were descendants of Furor's early creations imbued with raw life energy unmatched by other races. Others whispered they had fallen from the heavens, a forgotten race of sky spirits who chose to live among mortals. Whatever their origin, their influence was unmistakable. The Zonai built colossal temples and labyrinthine structures deep within forests and mountains, often infused with strange magic that even later civilizations failed to decipher. Their architecture featured recurring symbols: owls, dragons, boars, each representing intellect, bravery, and primal strength. These symbols reappeared throughout Hyrule's history long after the Zonai themselves mysteriously vanished. Legends suggest they wielded powerful magic, capable of manipulating energy, time, and gravity. They forged mysterious relics that glowed with an unnatural green aura, relics that resisted decay and outlived the very civilization that crafted them. The Zonai, despite their early mastery, disappeared with almost no trace. Their cities fell quiet, their bridges collapsed into overgrown ruins, and the surviving races would later regard them as myth. Whether their fall came from war, an internal catastrophe, or a voluntary retreat into another realm, no civilization ever truly uncovered the truth. If the Zonai represented ancient primal force, the Sheikah embodied sacred divine purpose. Born from the tribes that once followed Hylia during the war against Demise, the Sheikah dedicated their entire existence to protecting the royal family and the Triforce. Their eyes, marked by the iconic tear-shaped crest, represented their eternal vigilant sorrow watching over the kingdom in both prosperity and ruin. Masters of secrecy, shadow, and spiritual magic, the Sheikah created a blend of technology and mysticism that surpassed anything seen in their era. With their knowledge, they built the earliest temples, sealed away demonic remnants, and recorded prophecies that foretold every rise and fall in Hyrule's future. Their wisdom shaped the kingdom as it formed. They designed intricate runic systems, blueprints for future shrines, and powerful sealing techniques to imprison evil forces. Generations later, their knowledge would evolve into the advanced technology seen in the Guardian Constructs and Sheikah Towers, devices so powerful they could defend or destroy kingdoms. Yet the Sheikah's loyalty was their greatest strength and their greatest curse. Whenever their technology grew too advanced, fear rose within Hyrule's own rulers. In multiple eras, the royal family ordered strict control, suppression, or dismantling of Sheikah inventions to avoid the possibility of rebellion. This tension gave birth to a splinter faction, the Yiga, who rejected their duty. Embraced chaos and worshipped Ganon, the Sheikah's story was one of devotion, betrayal, resilience, and shadowed sacrifice. In contrast to the mysterious Zonai and the powerful Sheikah, the Minish, also known as the Pekori, were a race so small they remained invisible to most mortals. Born from Furor's sacred light, the Minish were tiny, mouse-sized beings who lived in hidden villages, grasslands, and inside human homes. Though delicate in size, they possessed extraordinary magic. It was the Minish who first introduced humanity to the idea that great power could be shaped into small vessels. They crafted sacred items like the Pekori blade and infused light into objects like the mysterious light force that later flowed through Hyrule's royal lineage. The Minish viewed themselves as helpers of the worthy, granting gifts to pure-hearted individuals, especially children. They preferred to remain unseen, believing that humility and secrecy preserved their magic. Over time, the Minish became associated with legends of wish-granting artifacts, magical hats, enchanted swords, and portals between the human and miniature world. Their contributions, though subtle, fueled the growth of early Hylian culture, leading to festivals, traditions, and stories about small beings bringing blessings during times of need. As these civilizations flourished, the land itself evolved. Forests became enchanted sanctuaries, grown from Furor's lingering life essence. Rivers glistened with Nehru's harmony, flowing naturally toward ancient shrines. Volcanic regions pulsed with Din's fiery influence, forming the early homes of races like the Gorons. The Sheikah mapped these regions meticulously, documenting where sacred power flowed strongest. Their early temples became the prototypes for later structures, such as the Temple of Time, a convergence point between the mortal world and the sacred realm. This temple, built with the help of both ancient mystics and early Hylians, housed the Master Sword pedestal and stood as the final gateway to the Triforce. Meanwhile, the Zonai constructed labyrinths in remote regions to test warriors and trap intruders attempting to steal their magic. These labyrinths remained active centuries later, with mechanisms that somehow continued functioning despite the passage of ages. Their sky islands, floating in unreachable heights, hinted at technology or magic far beyond mortal comprehension, technology that later civilizations could not replicate even with all their advancements. The Minish, hidden from sight, forged sacred artifacts in tiny workshops. They blessed children with gifts of courage, wisdom, and good fortune. They watched silently as the earliest humans forged villages, assigning themselves roles as unseen guardians. Legends of miniature visitors spreading joy during festivals spread across towns, shaping traditions that survived even after the Minish withdrew into secrecy. As these ancient civilizations grew, Hylia's influence, though no longer physically present, remained woven into the world. The Sheikah preserved her prophecies, the Minish guarded her blessings, and even the Zonai, in their own way, embodied the untamed power she once protected. Over centuries, these societies influenced one another through trade, conflict, myth, or alliance. Runic patterns seen in Sheikah, the Zonai, and the Minish. Each civilization emerged from different origins, possessed different strengths, and contributed uniquely to the formation of the kingdom that would dominate history. Their stories intertwine like ancient vines, rooted deep in the past, shaping the destiny of Hyrule long before the royal family erected its thrones or the hero of time ever drew breath. The Zonai, the oldest and perhaps most enigmatic of these civilizations, predated almost all written memory. They were a warrior people, tall and physically powerful, marked by swirling green patterns across their architecture and artifacts. Their culture was steeped in mysticism, worshipping dragons and aligning themselves with the primal forces of nature. Some believed they were descendants of Furor's early creations, imbued with raw life energy unmatched by other races. Others whispered they had fallen from the heavens, a forgotten race of sky spirits who chose to live among mortals. Whatever their origin, their influence was unmistakable. The Zonai built colossal temples and labyrinthine structures deep within forests and mountains, often infused with strange magic that even later civilizations failed to decipher. Their architecture featured recurring symbols: owls, dragons, boars, each representing intellect, bravery, and primal strength. These symbols reappeared throughout Hyrule's history long after the Zonai themselves mysteriously vanished. Legends suggest they wielded powerful magic, capable of manipulating energy, time, and gravity. They forged mysterious relics that glowed with an unnatural green aura, relics that resisted decay and outlived the very civilization that crafted them. The Zonai, despite their early mastery, disappeared with almost no trace. Their cities fell quiet, their bridges collapsed into overgrown ruins, and the surviving races would later regard them as myth. Whether their fall came from war, an internal catastrophe, or a voluntary retreat into another realm. No civilization ever truly uncovered the truth if the Zonai represented ancient primal force. The Sheikah embodied sacred divine purpose. Born from the tribes that once followed Hylia during the war against Demise, the Sheikah dedicated their entire existence to protecting the royal family and the Triforce. Their eyes, marked by the iconic tear-shaped crest, represented their eternal vigilant sorrow watching over the kingdom in both prosperity and ruin. Masters of secrecy, shadow, and spiritual magic, the Sheikah created a blend of technology and mysticism that surpassed anything seen in their era. With their knowledge, they built the earliest temples, sealed away demonic remnants, and recorded prophecies that foretold every rise and fall in Hyrule's future. Their wisdom shaped the kingdom as it formed. They designed intricate runic systems, blueprints for future shrines, and powerful sealing techniques to imprison evil forces. Generations later, their knowledge would evolve into the advanced technology seen in the Guardian Constructs and Sheikah Towers, devices so powerful they could defend or destroy kingdoms. Yet the Sheikah's loyalty was their greatest strength and their greatest curse. Whenever their technology grew too advanced, fear rose within Hyrule's own rulers. In multiple eras, the royal family ordered strict control, suppression, or dismantling of Sheikah inventions to avoid the possibility of rebellion. This tension gave birth to a splinter faction, the Yiga, who rejected their duty, embraced chaos, and worshipped Ganon. The Sheikah's story was one of devotion, betrayal, resilience, and shadowed sacrifice. In contrast to the mysterious Zonai and the powerful Sheikah, the Minish, also known as the Pekori, were a race so small they remained invisible to most mortals. Born from Farore's sacred light, the Minish were tiny, mouse-sized beings who lived in hidden villages, grasslands, and inside human homes. Though delicate in size, they possessed extraordinary magic. It was the Minish who first introduced humanity to the idea that great power could be shaped into small vessels. They crafted sacred items like the Pekori blade and infused light into objects like the mysterious light force that later flowed through Hyrule's royal lineage. The Minish viewed themselves as helpers of the worthy, granting gifts to pure-hearted individuals, especially children. They preferred to remain unseen, believing that humility and secrecy preserved their magic. Over time, the Minish became associated with legends of wish-granting artifacts, magical hats, enchanted swords, and portals between the human and miniature world. Their contributions, though subtle, fueled the growth of early Hylian culture, leading to festivals, traditions, and stories about small beings bringing blessings during times of need. As these civilizations flourished, the land itself evolved. Forests became enchanted sanctuaries, grown from Farore's lingering life essence. Rivers glistened with Nehru's harmony, flowing naturally toward ancient shrines. Volcanic regions pulsed with Din's fiery influence, forming the early homes of races like the Gorons. The Sheikah mapped these regions meticulously, documenting where sacred power flowed strongest. Their early temples became the prototypes for later structures, such as the Temple of Time, a convergence point between the mortal world and the sacred realm. This temple, built with the help of both ancient mystics and early Hylians, housed the Master Sword pedestal and stood as the final gateway to the Triforce. Meanwhile, the Zonai constructed labyrinths in remote regions to test warriors and trap intruders attempting to steal their magic. These labyrinths remained active centuries later, with mechanisms that somehow continued functioning despite the passage of ages. Their sky islands, floating in unreachable heights, hinted at technology or magic far beyond mortal comprehension, technology that later civilizations could not replicate even with all their advancements. The Minish, hidden from sight, forged sacred artifacts in tiny workshops. They blessed children with gifts of courage, wisdom, and good fortune. They watched silently as the earliest humans forged villages, assigning themselves roles as unseen guardians. Legends of miniature visitors spreading joy during festivals spread across towns, shaping traditions that survived even after the Minish withdrew into secrecy. As these ancient civilizations grew, Hylia's influence, though no longer physically present, remained woven into the world. The Sheikah preserved her prophecies, the Minish guarded her blessings, and even the Zonai, in their own way, embodied the untamed power she once protected. Over centuries, these societies influenced one another through trade, conflict, myth, or alliance. Runic patterns seen in Sheikah shrines resembled symbols found in Zonai ruins. Magical stones carried by early Hylians contained Minish crafting marks. Even the earliest swords forged for heroes bore stamps and enchantments reminiscent of all three cultures blended together, but civilizations, no matter how advanced, are not immune to time's erosion. The Zonai, after reaching incomparable heights, suddenly collapsed. Their temples were overtaken by wilderness, their sky islands deserted, their technology abandoned. Some claimed they were wiped out by a cataclysm. Others believed they returned to the heavens. Their disappearance left behind mysteries that not even the Sheikah or royal family could decode. The Sheikah continued their service, but even they faced eras of persecution, division, and transformation. Some eras saw them revered as saints. Others saw them feared as sorcerers. Their devotion, however, never wavered, even when their own creations were dismantled or their knowledge outlawed. They maintained the sacred vow passed from Hylia: protect the royal family, protect the Triforce, protect the kingdom, the Minish. Sensing their magic fading from mortal awareness, gradually withdrew into their miniature world, leaving behind remnants of their craft. Their presence became more myth than memory, preserved only in stories told during festivals together. The rise and decline of these ancient civilizations formed the bedrock upon which the Kingdom of Hyrule would be built. Their technologies, philosophies, and legends shaped the future. Their architecture became the blueprint for temples and shrines. Their prophecies guided royal decisions. Their magic infused the sacred relics wielded by heroes and villains alike, though the royal family would eventually take center stage. It was these early civilizations that formed the silent pillars of Hyrule's destiny before the kingdom was crowned, before the Master Sword was pulled from stone, before Ganondorf sought power or Link wore the iconic green tunic. There were the Sheikah, the Zonai, and the Minish, weaving the earliest threads of a saga that would last for millennia. And it was upon their ancient foundations that the next great chapter in Hyrule's history would rise: the unification of tribes, the forging of laws, and the birth of the first kingdom of Hyrule. After centuries of ancient civilizations rising and falling across the surface, Zonai vanishing into myth, Minish retreating into secrecy, and Sheikah guarding sacred knowledge, the world beneath the clouds entered an age historians would later call the era of chaos. This was a time when no single tribe held dominance, when the land was divided into countless territories ruled by independent clans, nomadic groups, or scattered settlements. Hyrule, as a kingdom, did not yet exist. Instead, the surface was a patchwork of conflicting powers, forgotten ruins, unclaimed forests, and regions tainted by lingering malice from Demise's sealed presence. Monsters roamed freely. Ancient machines lay dormant or malfunctioned. Shrines stood half buried beneath overgrowth, and without a unifying force to guide them. His heart, however, was consumed by the ancient malice inherited from Demise's curse. He believed the desert held nothing for him, that his destiny lay in conquering Hyrule's green plains, its sacred temples, and ultimately the Triforce itself. During this period, Hyrule was governed by a wise king who maintained alliances across tribes and ensured peace throughout the kingdom. Princess Zelda, born with the spirit of the goddess Hylia, foresaw a looming darkness through prophetic dreams. Guided by these visions, she sensed a force rising that threatened to consume the world. Meanwhile, in a quiet forest village called Kokiri Forest, a boy named Link lived among the Kokiri childlike forest spirits. Though raised as one of them, Link was different. He lacked a fairy companion and aged unlike the others. These differences hinted at truths hidden even from himself. Link, destined to embody the spirit of courage, was unaware of the monumental fate awaiting him. Link's peaceful life changed when he received a fairy companion named Navi. Sent by the great Deku Tree, guardian of the forest. The ancient tree revealed that a curse had been placed upon it by Ganondorf in an attempt to gain access to the sacred realm. Link's quest began with tragedy, despite his efforts. The great Deku tree succumbed to the curse, giving Link his first glimpse of the darkness spreading across Hyrule. His journey took him from forest to castle, where he met Princess Zelda, the mortal vessel of Hylia, recognizing him from her prophetic dreams. Zelda entrusted him with a mission that would shape the fate of the world, retrieve 3 spiritual stones, and open the way to the sacred realm before Ganondorf could dot as Link ventured across the kingdom, collecting the sacred stones from the Gorons, Zora, and Kokiri. Ganondorf launched an attack on Hyrule Castle. Princess Zelda fled with her attendant Impa, leaving Link behind with a final hopeful glance. When he placed the stones on the Temple of Time altar, the Door of Time opened, revealing the Master Sword Hylia's sacred blade, created to repel evil. When Link drew the sword, expecting to become the kingdom's protector, something unexpected happened because he was too young to wield its full power. The Master Sword sealed him in the sacred realm, holding him in suspended time until he matured. During Link's 7-year slumber, disaster struck. Ganondorf seized the opportunity created by the opening of the sacred realm as Link slept. Ganondorf entered the realm, touched the Triforce, and claimed the portion his heart resonated with, the Triforce of Power, the relic. Unable to remain whole in the hands of an unbalanced soul, split into 3 pieces. Power remained with Ganondorf. Wisdom chose Zelda. Courage, driven by destiny, chose Link. Armed with divine power, Ganondorf plunged Hyrule into darkness. Towns fell. Monsters overran the land. The world decayed under tyranny. By the time Link awakened 7 years later, the kingdom had become a haunting wasteland. Now an adult, Link embarked on the second phase of his destiny. Guided by the sage Roru and the awakening of sages across the land, he restored the once sacred temples that had fallen into ruin. He forged alliances, gathered sacred items, and rescued the souls of those destined to become the sages. Zelda, now hiding in the guise of Sheik, assisted him in secrecy. Together, they sought to imprison Ganondorf in a sacred dimension. But destiny did not yield easily. Ganondorf, aware of their plans, set traps, sent monsters, and fought with the fury of a being born of Demise's hatred. Even so, Link, carrying the spirit of countless past heroes, confronted Ganondorf in his tower. After a fierce battle, Ganondorf was sealed away in the sacred realm by the combined power of the sages. It was at this moment when victory seemed assured that history fractured, standing before the Master Sword pedestal. Princess Zelda faced a decision that would alter destiny forever. She realized Link had been robbed of his childhood. To restore what he had lost, she sent him back in time using the Ocarina of Time, allowing him to relive the years stolen from him. But this single act created a ripple effect across the fabric of reality, splitting the flow of time in 3 distinct directions. ***1, the child timeline***, where Link returned to the past, warned the king of Ganondorf's plan, and altered history so that Ganondorf was arrested before gaining access to the sacred realm. In this timeline, Link's heroic acts prevented the catastrophe from ever occurring. This branch eventually led to the stories of Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess ***2, the adult timeline***, where Link disappeared after being sent back, leaving Hyrule without its hero. With Ganondorf imprisoned in the sacred realm and no Link to protect the kingdom, Hyrule faced a new crisis in the future. When Ganondorf eventually broke free, the gods flooded the land to prevent destruction. This timeline gave birth to the Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks ***3, the Fallen Hero Timeline ***, a third unexpected branch formed by the possibility that Link could fail in battle against Ganondorf. In this timeline, the hero of time fell, the sages sealed Ganon, and the kingdom entered an age of decline. This timeline led to a link to the past Oracle of Ages Seasons and the original The Legend of Zelda. These 3 timelines existed simultaneously, parallel destinies born from a single moment of divine intervention. The timeline split marked the first and only instance in Hyrule's history where the flow of time fractured. It was a direct result of Zelda's choice to restore Link's childhood and the Triforce's sensitivity to shifts in fate. The Sheikah texts preserved fragments of this event, describing time as a river broken into 3 streams. Flowing toward 3 distant shores, each timeline developed its own culture, history, tragedies, and triumphs. But all were bound by the eternal cycle of courage, wisdom, and power, thus. The legend of the hero of time became not a single story, but a cosmic crossroads, one that defined the structure of the entire Zelda universe. The breaking of the timelines reshaped destiny itself, and the consequences of this monumental event would continue to ripple through ages yet to come. Even though the hero of time stepped out of the stage in each timeline differently, his legacy became immortal. His courage inspired future heroes, his failures shaped eras of decline, and his victories set the foundations for new worlds. And so, through a single hero's journey, the mythos of Hyrule branched into 3 realities, forever marking the moment when time itself bowed under the weight of destiny, when Princess Zelda returned the hero of time to his childhood. The world he left behind now without its chosen hero entered a new age shaped by uncertainty, vulnerability, and the lingering presence of evil. Though Ganondorf had been sealed in the sacred realm by the sages, the kingdom understood that the threat was not permanently extinguished. The Triforce of power remained within him, pulsing with corrupt vitality, waiting for the moment when the seal would weaken. And because Link no longer existed in this era sent back to relive a timeline where Ganondorf would be stopped before the disaster, the kingdom was left without the legendary defender Destiny once promised. For a time, peace lingered across Hyrule, but it was a fragile calm, like the last breath of wind before a storm. The royal family maintained order, rebuilt what had been lost, and protected the sacred knowledge of the sages. Princess Zelda, now older and more aware of her responsibilities, carried the burden of knowing the truth. Their world had survived only because a hero from another time had intervened. And now that hero was gone, generations passed. The Master Sword rested in its pedestal. The sages remained eternal, guarding the seal. But nothing could halt the slow erosion of time. The seal binding Ganondorf gradually weakened, and whispers of evil began crawling through ancient cracks. Strange omens plagued the land, shadows stretching unnaturally at dusk, storms forming without warning, monsters reappearing across roads and fields. The Sheikah, sensitive to shifts in spiritual balance, warned the royal family that the seal would not hold much longer. If Ganondorf broke free, there would be no chosen hero to stop him. The ancient prophecies were clear. The curse of Demise would revive again. A new war won without a hero loomed over Hyrule. Then it happened. One night, beneath a blood-red moon, the seal shattered. Ganondorf, reborn from hatred and empowered by the still intact Triforce of power, emerged from the sacred realm, no longer constrained by divine barriers. He returned stronger, more cunning, and more ruthless. He swept across the kingdom like a living storm. The royal family attempted to fight back. The knights rallied. The Sheikah deployed ancient techniques. But it wasn't enough. Without the hero of time, the kingdom's defenses collapsed with terrifying speed. Entire provinces fell. Temples were desecrated. Towns turned to ashes. No blade could pierce Ganondorf's demonic form. No mortal army could stand before him. In desperation, the king prayed to the golden goddesses, the same divine beings who had created the world. He asked for deliverance, begging that the kingdom be spared annihilation, and the goddesses answered, but their salvation did not come through armies, miracles, or divine champions. Instead, they made a decision far more catastrophic yet necessary. They would flood the land. The goddesses commanded the skies to open, releasing endless torrents of rain. Waters rose with impossible speed, swallowing fields, homes, mountains, and ancient temples. People fled to the highest peaks, clinging to hope, watching as their world disappeared beneath the waves. Entire civilizations vanished. The races of the world struggled against nature, corruption, and each other. It was a time of fear, survival, and uncertainty. And yet it was also a time of immense potential, a blank canvas awaiting the rise of leaders who would forge unity from chaos. The early Hylians, descended from the people of Skyloft who had returned to the surface, were among the first tribes to establish permanent settlements. Carrying Hylia's bloodline through Zelda's reincarnation, the Hylians possessed longer ears attuned to divine whispers, granting them heightened sensitivity to magic. They settled in fertile regions near rivers and plains, constructing simple homes, farms, and early temples dedicated to the goddess. Unlike other tribes, Hylians sought knowledge, diplomacy, and long-term stability rather than conquest. Their leaders valued cooperation and saw the land not as territory to dominate, but as a home to rebuild. This mindset would eventually become the ideological foundation for the Kingdom of Hyrule. Other tribes, however, did not share this peaceful vision. The Gorons, still early in their development, were a proud and powerful mountain race occupying volcanic regions around Death Mountain. Their strength was unmatched, and their culture revolved around survival in the harshest environment imaginable. While not inherently aggressive, they defended their mountain territories fiercely, leading to frequent conflicts with tribes encroaching on their resources. The Zora, living in lakes and rivers, formed their own aquatic domains. Their societies were structured, elegant, and deeply connected to Nehru's essence of harmony, but their isolation made them distrustful of land dwellers. Meanwhile, in vast deserts to the west, early Gerudo societies emerged fierce, disciplined, and driven by survival in unforgiving sands. Their warrior culture and unique matriarchal structure made them formidable and self-reliant. Forest-dwelling tribes, including early Kokiri-like beings and wood spirits, guarded sacred groves and rarely interacted with outsiders. These groups lived side by side, but not in unity. Borders were informal and frequently contested. Trade existed, but so did rivalries. Without a central authority or shared purpose, no tribe could claim dominance, and no two tribes fully trusted each other. This fragmenting instability was that historians describe as chaos, not an era of constant war, but one of disconnection, fear, and lack of order into this fractured world. The Sheikah played a unique role. As the followers of Hylia, they continued to protect her reincarnated lineage and preserve ancient knowledge. However, during the era of chaos, the Sheikah faced enormous pressure. With no throne established, they had no monarch to serve directly. Instead, they became wanderers, guardians, and scholars who traveled between tribes, offering wisdom, prophecy, and mediation. Many tribes revered them. Others feared them, believing their shadow magic to be too powerful. Their iconic symbol, the eye with a single tear, became known as both a sign of protection and a warning. It was the Sheikah who foresaw that the land could not survive indefinitely in division. In ancient texts, they wrote that the chaos will break only when wisdom and courage join to shape the future. These prophecies helped guide the course of history during this time. A remarkable figure emerged from the Hylian settlement, a woman born into Zelda's sacred bloodline. She possessed extraordinary wisdom and a natural ability to unite people. Though her name has been lost or obscured by time, she is often referred to in ancient lore as the first sage queen or the crownless monarch. She traveled across the land, guided by Sheikah advisors, seeking alliances rather than domination. She spoke to the Gorons with respect, acknowledging their strength, to the Zora, offering trade and shared waterways, to the forest tribes, promising protection of their sacred groves, and even to the reclusive Gerudo, offering recognition of their sovereignty. Slowly, she won trust. Under her influence, a fragile network of alliances formed. However, the true catalyst for unification came not from diplomacy, but from a new threat. Deep beneath the land, Demise's lingering malice continued to seep into the world. Corrupted creatures began attacking settlements at an alarming rate. Regions once safe became dangerous overnight. Strange plagues afflicted the land. Unnatural storms formed. This shared danger forced the tribes to confront a reality. They could not survive alone. Under this pressure, the alliances forged by the first Sage Queen strengthened. The tribes realized that unity was not merely beneficial, it was essential. Recognizing her leadership, the tribes agreed to follow her guidance in establishing a more formal structure. She called for a gathering of leaders in a neutral region where they discussed laws, boundaries, shared resources, and collective defense. This meeting, known in ancient Sheikah texts as the First Council of the Land, laid the foundations for a unified society. It was here that the concept of a kingdom was first introduced, not as a dominion ruled by conquest, but as a union bound by shared purpose and protected by a sacred lineage. The Sheikah, acting as mediators, proposed a symbolic gesture to cement the unification, the creation of a capital, a city built near the convergence of powerful ley lines, where the essence of the golden goddesses was strongest. This would become the foundation for what later is called Castle Town. The first sage queen was crowned, not as a tyrant, but as a monarch who unified the land through wisdom. Her coronation marked the official birth of the Kingdom of Hyrule The tribes pledged loyalty to the new kingdom, agreeing to settle disputes through councils rather than conflict and to protect the land under a single banner. The Sheikah pledged themselves as royal guardians. The Zora agreed to control and share water resources. The Gorons offered protection through their unmatched strength. The forest tribes vowed to protect sacred groves and natural sanctuaries. Even the Gerudo, though independent, agreed to join the alliance in exchange for recognition under the First Queen's rule. Laws were established, laws inspired by Nehru's wisdom. Regions were organized into provinces, each led by local chiefs who represented their tribes in the central council. Trade routes were built. Early temples honoring Din, Nehru, and Fror were constructed. Festivals celebrating unity replaced small tribal rituals. Slowly, Hyrule transformed from scattered tribes into a structured society, but the most significant achievement of the First Kingdom was the construction of a monumental structure, the Temple of Time, built with Sheikah guidance, Zonai remnants, and the symbolic blessing of all tribes. It served as the gateway between the mortal world and the sacred realm inside it. The pedestal for the Master Sword was created, a seal that would someday become critical in Hyrule's future. Though the Master Sword did not yet rest there, its foundation represented the kingdom's devotion to order and justice. With a capital established, a monarch crowned, and a central temple built, Hyrule entered an era of peace and prosperity unprecedented in its early history. The first Sage Queen ruled with fairness and wisdom, setting a standard that future monarchs would follow. Art, culture, farming, and magic flourished. The tribes mingled freely. Knowledge spread. The Sheikah recorded history meticulously, ensuring that future generations would understand the origins of their unity. Yet even in this age of peace, the Sheikah warned of destinies yet to come. They spoke of an eternal cycle born from Demise's curse, one that would bring both greatness and ruin. But for now, under the newly risen banner of the Kingdom of Hyrule, the land experienced harmony, a rare and precious calm before the storms of future eras, and thus, from chaos, unity was forged. From division, a kingdom was born. And from the ashes of ancient civilizations arose a nation destined to shape the fate of the world for all time. As the unified Kingdom of Hyrule grew in strength and prosperity, centuries passed, and the land transformed into a flourishing civilization guided by wise monarchs. Protected by the Sheikah and blessed by the legacy of Hylia, temples stood tall across provinces. Sacred relics were preserved, and peace seemed to stretch endlessly across the kingdom. Yet the eternal curse of Demise waited silently beneath the surface, weaving its tendrils through destiny. That curse, spoken at the dawn of creation, promised that hatred incarnate would be reborn again and again to chase the spirit of the goddess and the soul of the hero through all time. Its fulfillment came with the birth of a Gerudo warrior unlike any before him, Ganondorf, a man destined to become the greatest threat Hyrule would ever face. His rise and the events surrounding the hero of time would shatter the flow of history itself, splitting destiny into three separate realities that forever altered the world. The Gerudo were a tribe of fierce, honorable women living in the harsh desert, giving birth to a single male only once every 100 years. This rare male would traditionally rise as king, trained to lead the tribe with strength and wisdom. But Ganondorf, born under an ominous star, possessed ambitions far beyond the desert. Raised by witches and steeped in ancient dark magic, he became obsessed with the legends of the Triforce, the divine relic that could grant ultimate power to anyone who touched it. As he grew, his charisma, cunning, and supernatural presence made him both revered and feared. Forests drowned. Deserts turned to vast oceans. The once mighty kingdom of Hyrule sank into myth. Only the mountain tops remained above water. Transformed into small islands scattered across a great sea, Ganondorf, caught in the chaos, was sealed once again, this time beneath the ocean, deep within the drowned remnants of the kingdom he once sought to rule. The flood became a divine prison, trapping him in a world that no longer existed. The survivors, forced to adapt to a new reality, built homes upon islands and boats upon waters that stretched endlessly to the horizon. Over generations, the memory of Hyrule faded. Children grew up believing the world had always been water. Stories of ancient cities beneath the waves became legends told by grandparents at twilight. This new era was known as the Great Sea Era ***. In this vast, oceanic world, people built small communities on islands, Outset Island, Windfall Island, Dragon Roost, Forest Haven, and many others. Their cultures shifted drastically from the structured kingdom their ancestors once knew. They fished, sailed, traded, and explored, unaware that beneath their feet lay the bones of a forgotten civilization. The royal family's lineage continued, though altered by time. Princess Zelda's descendants inherited pieces of ancient wisdom but lacked full understanding of the world that came before. The Triforce of wisdom remained within the line of princesses, though often dormant. In this age, a young boy named Link, different from the hero of time but connected through destiny's eternal cycle, lived a simple life on Outset Island. He was not a knight, not a chosen warrior, but a normal child who celebrated a local tradition known as the Coming of Age Day, where boys of a certain age wore green tunics inspired by ancient legends of the hero who once saved the world. It was on Link's birthday that the cycle reawakened. A giant bird known as the Helmarok King, servant to Ganondorf, kidnapped girls across the Great Sea, seeking the reincarnation of Zelda when the bird mistakenly captured Link's sister Hyrule. Fate pulled him into a story far greater than himself. Link, armed with determination rather than destiny, set out to rescue her, only to uncover the truth behind his world. Guided by the King of Red Lions, a talking boat that housed the spirit of the ancient king of Hyrule, Link learned of the submerged kingdom, the vanished hero, and the sealed Ganondorf rising once more beneath the sea. He discovered ancient temples buried beneath islands, awakened the power of the sages, and eventually reclaimed the Master Sword, which had lain dormant underwater for centuries. But the blade had lost its full strength. To restore it, Link sought the lost sages Laruto and Fadu, whose descendants played sacred songs that reawakened the sword's divine power. As Link strengthened the blade, Ganondorf regained influence. His agents spread across the Great Sea, searching for the princess descended from Zelda's bloodline. That princess, hiding in plain sight as a pirate captain named Tetra, had no knowledge of her heritage. But destiny revealed itself when Link and Tetra discovered the submerged Hyrule castle beneath the waters, a timeless, frozen moment preserved by the gods. There, Tetra transformed into Princess Zelda, her lineage unlocked by the Triforce of wisdom. Ganondorf, now fully aware of her existence, sought to unite the Triforce pieces and reshape the world, not by conquest, but by restoring Hyrule under his rule. In the final confrontation, Link fought Ganondorf and the remnants of the ancient kingdom. As the waters receded temporarily, exposing the castle once more, Ganondorf nearly succeeded in reclaiming the Triforce. But Zelda and Link, united by fate, seized the relic and made their wish not to restore the old world, but to create a new future free from the burdens of the past. The goddesses answered their wish. Light erupted across the submerged kingdom. The ocean above began to collapse inward again, and as the waves surged, Hyrule was permanently sealed. The king of Hyrule, choosing to remain with his sunken kingdom, accepted his fate. He let the water bury his land once more, knowing that the old world had no place in the age to come. Link and Zelda escaped to the surface as the floodwaters reclaimed Hyrule forever. The Great Sea once again became calm, and above its endless horizon, the two heroes set off to find a new land where their people could build a future unshackled by ancient curses. Thus, the adult timeline's destiny concluded with the death of the old kingdom and the birth of a new world, one not defined by Hyrule's past, but inspired by the courage, wisdom, and hope of its legacy. The Great Flood became the most dramatic turning point in all three timelines. In this world, Hyrule did not rise again. It slept eternally beneath the waves, preserved as a memory carved into the ocean floor. And though its stones crumbled and its halls silently decayed, its spirit lived on through the heroes who carried its ancient values into distant seas and unexplored horizons. In a realm where destiny bent not toward triumph but tragedy, there existed a timeline shaped by the unthinkable. The hero of time failed. Unlike the child timeline, where he was sent back to warn the kingdom, or the adult timeline, where he vanished after victory, this world's fate diverged at the moment of greatest peril. In this branch of reality, Link fell in battle against Ganondorf. His defeat shattered the hopes of Hyrule and opened the door for an age historians would later call the era of decline. A period marked by sorrow, fragmented kingdoms, forgotten legends, and a long descent into ruin. This dark reality formed the foundation for many of the oldest Zelda adventures, where the world was weakened, kingdoms fractured, and the Triforce scattered. Without the hero of time to hold back the rising tide of evil, Hyrule plunged into chaos and decay unlike anything seen before. In this timeline, when the hero of time fell before Ganondorf's might, the sages watching from their ethereal sanctuaries acted swiftly and desperately. They used the power of the sacred realm to seal Ganondorf away before he could claim total dominion. However, sealing him did not stop his influence. The Triforce of power still throbbed within him, radiating malevolent energy that seeped into the world. With the hero dead, the kingdom faced the devastating aftermath. The people mourned the fallen hero whose victory had been prophesied. Princess Zelda, carrying the Triforce of Wisdom, led the survivors through the catastrophe, but without a hero to stand beside her, the kingdom's stability crumbled. Hyrule lost its unity. Provinces broke apart. The Sheikah were hunted or scattered. Ancient temples became corrupted, and shadow began to reclaim the land. For a time, the royal family held the kingdom together through sheer resolve. Zelda and her descendants used their wisdom to establish laws, protect the Triforce of Wisdom, and stabilize the remaining provinces. But the world had changed irrevocably. Ganondorf's influence, though sealed, left monstrous remnants across the land. Magical imbalances distorted reality, spawning cursed creatures. Regions once lush became barren, rivers dried, and ancient forests withered. Slowly, the people lost trust in their rulers. Rumors spread that the royal family had failed to prevent the fall. Bandits rose, tribes retreated into isolation, and once prosperous cities collapsed. The Sheikah, blamed for their inability to stop the catastrophe, dispersed into hiding. In this bleak landscape, the kingdom fractured into small, independent realms. Generations passed, and the memory of the hero of time faded. The knowledge of the sacred realm, the sages, and even the Master Sword became shrouded in myth. Historians struggled to preserve the truth in a world slipping toward ignorance. The kingdom, unable to maintain its influence, shrank to a fraction of its former glory. And yet, even in this darkening age, the Triforce persisted, its pieces scattered across the realm, waiting for the next mortal worthy enough to wield them. The decline deepened during the events that would later form the legends of A Link to the Past in this era. The seal imprisoning Ganon, no longer simply Ganondorf, but now an evil incarnation transformed by pure malice, weakened. His influence seeped through, corrupting the sacred realm into what became known as the Dark World, a twisted reflection of Hyrule, shaped by the desires and nightmares of those who entered it. Greedy mortals attempted to claim the Triforce, only to be twisted into monstrous forms. The Dark World grew stronger, its power threatening to spill into the Light World once again. The royal family was forced to act. The people of Hyrule sought refuge in the remaining strongholds, most notably Hyrule Castle, where the descendant of Princess Zelda prayed for salvation. But unlike before, there was no guaranteed champion foretold by prophecy. The line of heroes had splintered with the death of the hero of time. The sages hoped for a new hero to emerge, someone whose courage could rise above despair. Their prayers were answered when a young boy named Link, a descendant of the Knights of Hyrule, awakened to destiny. Guided by a telepathic plea from Princess Zelda, he retrieved the Master Sword and journeyed between the Light World and the Dark World to confront Ganon. This battle was long and brutal, shaping the events of countless legends. Link's victory closed the gate between realms and restored balance for a time, but Hyrule's structural integrity was already dissolving. The kingdom had been torn apart too many times. The sages were scattered. The Sheikah remained absent. The Triforce, though temporarily united, broke apart again. Peace, though present, was fragile. After the era of this link, Hyrule entered a long period of stagnation. Over centuries, new threats emerged, each one exploiting the world's weakened state. The events of Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, a link between worlds, and others unfolded during this time. The pattern became familiar. Evil resurged, a hero appeared, the world was saved temporarily only to decay once more. Each era chipped away at Hyrule's greatness, leaving ruins upon ruins, infrastructure decayed. Old temples were swallowed by forests. Desert tribes drifted further from the center of power. The Zora transformed or migrated. The Gorons all but vanished in certain regions. Even Castle Town, once the shining heart of the kingdom, collapsed repeatedly, rebuilt smaller each time. The royal family struggled to govern as their influence waned. Many monarchs tried to restore the kingdom's former glory, but political fragmentation, magical corruption, and generations of war left the land fragile. By the time the events of the original Legend of Zelda were set into motion, Hyrule had reached near total collapse. In this late stage of the decline timeline, Hyrule was no longer a great kingdom but a broken land of isolated settlements, dangerous wilderness, and ancient ruins buried beneath centuries of neglect. The once mighty Hyrule Castle lay in ruins. The royal family had dwindled to a single Princess Zelda barely maintaining authority. The Triforce was shattered into pieces scattered across the land. Ganon returned once again from the Dark World, now fully resurrected as the Demon King. His armies overran what remained of civilization. It was in this bleak world that another Link arose, the hero of the original Legend of Zelda. He recovered the fragmented Triforce of Wisdom, rescued Princess Zelda, and defeated Ganon, restoring a sliver of hope. But even this victory could not fully reverse the kingdom's decline. The land remained fractured, drained of resources, and overrun by monsters. In the sequel, Adventure of Link, Ganon's followers attempted to resurrect him, and the young hero once again defended the kingdom. But after his era passed, history recorded little else. The decline continued. The decline timeline represents the darkest and longest descent in Hyrule's history, a world without a guaranteed hero, without a stable kingdom, and without the divine blessings that once shaped its destiny. Its stories are steeped in sorrow, obscurity, and forgotten glories. The cycle of hero, goddess, and demon persisted, but the world grew weaker each time. It became a land of ruins, legends, and memories rather than thriving civilization, unlike the adult timeline, where Hyrule was drowned and reborn, or the child timeline, where future heroes would rise to protect new iterations of the kingdom. The decline timeline ended not with rebirth, but with uncertainty. Historians speculate that the kingdom eventually dissolved entirely, leaving behind only myths of its former grandeur. The Master Sword's resting place became lost. The Triforce's role diminished. The Sheikah disappeared completely, and the once great Hyrule faded into history as a cautionary tale, a kingdom undone by the absence of its hero. This is the timeline where destiny broke, where the curse of Demise reached its fullest expression, and where the kingdom struggled endlessly against forces beyond mortal control. It is the darkest chapter of Hyrule's long saga, a reminder that even divine blessings cannot prevent the consequences of failure, and that the balance between courage, wisdom, and power is fragile enough to collapse when even one piece falls away. As centuries turned and the timelines branched into their own destinies, the child timeline gave rise to a version of Hyrule that endured long after the hero of time warned the kingdom of Ganondorf's ambitions. In this reality, Ganondorf was arrested before claiming the Triforce, muting the catastrophe that once consumed the adult timeline and preventing the tragic decline seen in the fallen hero timeline. Yet even here, peace was never eternal. Demise's curse, echoing across ages like a heartbeat of pure malice, ensured that hatred incarnate would someday take form again. Over generations, Hyrule rebuilt itself into a thriving, culturally rich kingdom, one that rose to heights never seen in any other era. The land grew vast and diverse, sprawling plains, towering volcanoes, snow-covered mountains, ancient forests, and shimmering lakes. The royal family maintained control, guided by the wisdom of Zelda's lineage and the courage of Hyrule's knights. But the most significant development of this age, one that would shape its triumphs and tragedies, came from the Sheikah. Once scattered, once hunted, they returned to prominence as brilliant inventors, scholars, and guardians. Freed from past persecution, they unleashed their genius. Ushering in a technological golden age, the Sheikah developed machines of incredible sophistication, guardians autonomous, spider-like constructs capable of devastating power, and massive Sheikah towers that spread across the land, able to map territories and channel magical signals. They built shrines infused with ancient runes containing trials that tested physical, mental, and spiritual strength. Most impressive of all was the divine beasts, colossal mechanical titans shaped like animals, each capable of channeling elemental might to destroy threats of unimaginable scale. These inventions were unlike anything the world had ever seen, combining magic, engineering, and divine energy. For the first time in Hyrule's long history, it appeared that the kingdom had achieved enough power to end the curse of Calamity once and for all. But power, especially power born from ancient magic, always draws attention. Beneath the earth, the hatred of Demise simmered once more. This hatred did not reincarnate as a mortal man, nor take the physical form of Ganondorf. Instead, it manifested as a monstrous, shapeless entity, Calamity Ganon, a swirling mass of malice, hatred, and ancient evil. Unable or unwilling to inhabit a single form, it appeared as a twisted amalgamation of demonic shapes, seeking destruction rather than conquest. Calamity Ganon possessed one goal: to wipe out Hyrule and sever the cycle of the goddess and the heroes. When the ancient Sheikah foresaw its return, they prepared an astonishing defense strategy. The King of Hyrule united for great champion Zuzer the Rito archer, Derek the Goron warrior, Mipha the Zora princess, and Urbosa the Gerudo chief, each chosen to pilot one of the divine beasts. These champions stood alongside the kingdom's young knight, Link, the newest incarnation of the spirit of courage. Meanwhile, Princess Zelda, born once again as the reincarnation of Hylia's spirit, undertook rigorous training in hopes of awakening her sacred power. For the first time in history, Hyrule was prepared, or so they believed. Calamity Ganon did not attack through brute force alone. With ancient cunning, it seized control of the Sheikah technology designed to destroy it. The Guardians, once the kingdom's greatest protectors, became its executioners. Their laser beams carved through soldiers like fire through dry grass. The divine beasts, intended to be Hyrule's ultimate weapons, turned against the champions trapped inside. One by one, they were killed, their spirits bound within their divine beasts. The Sheikah towers shut down, the shrines sealed, The royal army fell in a single night of horror known as the Great Calamity. At the heart of the kingdom, Link stood as its final defender. He fought with the full strength of every past hero, wielding the Master Sword in a desperate attempt to protect Zelda, but even he could not overcome the overwhelming power of corrupted guardians. Mortally wounded, Link collapsed. Zelda, in a surge of grief and awakening divinity, unleashed the sacred power she had struggled her entire life to access. Using her newly awakened light, she halted Ganon's advance, sealed Link's broken body away in the Shrine of Resurrection, and bound Calamity Ganon inside Hyrule Castle with a barrier made of pure divine energy. The cost was immense. She remained trapped there for 100 years. Maintaining the seal through endless sacrifice, her youth suspended by magic, her strength slowly diminishing. While Zelda held the monster at bay, the kingdom fell silent. Towns were abandoned, roads overgrown, castles crumbled, monsters roamed freely across plains and mountains. The Sheikah villages isolated themselves, hiding from the world. Ruins of ancient technology rusted, half buried in dirt. The world entered an age of wild nature, reclaiming everything, an age later known as the Era of the Wild. For a century, without Zelda's divine barrier, Calamity Ganon would have engulfed all existence. For a century, Link slept in a healing chamber, suspended between life and death, slowly restored by ancient Sheikah technology. Then, one day, Link awoke. He remembered nothing. His past battles, his identity, his purpose all were lost in a fog of fragmented memories. Guided by a mysterious voice, Zelda's spirit reaching out across time, he emerged into a world that no longer resembled the Hyrule he once knew. As Link stepped into the open, he saw vast, broken landscapes, shattered guardians littering fields, destroyed fortresses covered in vines, villages reduced to rubble, divine beasts roaming autonomously like wounded gods. And above all, circling like a hurricane of malice, was Calamity Ganon, trapped but waiting. Link's journey through this wild, ruined Hyrule was unlike any past hero's quest. There was no central kingdom to protect, no unified army, no royal court. Only scattered remnants of life, small villages like Hateno and Kakariko, refugees living on the edges of survival, and tribes who had adapted to the land's new dangers. Link uncovered memories of his past, learned of the champion's fates, and reclaimed ancient Sheikah abilities through the Sheikah-slated device of forgotten technology. Slowly, he grew stronger. He climbed mountains, tamed wild horses, retrieved ancient armor, and faced beasts of corrupt malice. He freed the spirits of the fallen champions by purging the divine beasts of Ganon's blight. Each victory weakened Calamity Ganon, each memory restored, reawakened his bond with Zelda, and when the divine beasts finally turned their cannons on Hyrule Castle, Link entered the fortress to confront the ancient evil once and for all. The final battle was a clash of destiny, courage against hatred. The blade of evil's bane against the formless horror born from Demise's curse. Zelda's divine seal weakened as Link fought, and when Calamity Ganon revealed its true monstrous form, a massive, snarling beast of pure malice, Link struck it down with the Master Sword. With its last breath, Calamity Ganon exploded in a burst of dark energy, but before it could reform, Zelda herself appeared. Fully awakening her goddess power, she unleashed a sphere of radiant light that erased Ganon from existence, ending the curse that had plagued Hyrule for millennia. When Ganon fell, Zelda's magic faded, and for the first time in 100 years, she was freed. She and Link stood together at the edge of a rebuilt dawn, staring across a kingdom broken but alive. Hyrule, though devastated, had survived. Now it needed not a hero or a goddess, but a chance to heal. The Era of the Wild closed with hope, fragile but real. The kingdom's future would be shaped not by ancient prophecies, but by the choices of the people who remained. Yet this was not the end. Beneath the ruins, hidden in forgotten catacombs, remnants of ancient malice still lurked. A new threat would soon rise, one buried deep below Hyrule Castle, waiting to awaken. But that story belongs to the next era. For now, the Era of the Wild stands as a testament to survival, a kingdom shattered but unbroken, a princess freed from a century of sacrifice, and a hero reborn into a world that had forgotten him. only for him to save it once again from the dawn of creation to the age of ruins and rebirth. The Kingdom of Hyrule has lived many lives. Its history is not linear but branching, woven from divine intervention, mortal courage, ancient curses, and an unending cycle that binds every era together. What began with the golden goddesses shaping the world and forging the Triforce grew into a saga spanning thousands of years, a story of heroes rising from obscurity, princesses carrying sacred wisdom, and forces of darkness emerging from the depths of time. Across timelines, through eras of prosperity and eras of devastation, one truth remained constant. The legacy of Hyrule is eternal because the values it was built upon are eternal. Courage, wisdom, and power, three forces that define not only a kingdom, but the soul of every being who has ever walked its land. The legacy begins with the Triforce, the greatest gift left behind by the golden goddesses. The Triforce is more than a magical artifact. It is the physical embodiment of perfect balance. Din's raw power allows creation and destruction. Nehru's wisdom brings harmony and justice. Farore's courage breathes life into mortals, giving them the will to change destiny. Yet the Triforce, in all its beauty, is also a test. Whoever touches it must face the truth of their heart. Those balanced in virtue receive the relic whole. Those led by ambition or malice cause it to split. Through the ages, the Triforce shaped the rise and fall of Hyrule. When the kingdoms stood united, the Triforce shone as a symbol of hope. When fractured, its absence shaped ages of despair. Every conflict that ever scarred Hyrule land, every triumph that restored it was rooted in how these three virtues collided across every timeline. Zelda, Link, and Ganon resurfaced again and again, not as the same individuals, but as living echoes of these divine virtues. Zelda, the reincarnation of Hylia, carried wisdom guiding kingdoms through diplomacy, sacrifice, and insight. Link, the vessel of the hero's spirit, carried courage standing against impossible odds to defend peace. Ganon, the reincarnation of Demise's hatred, carried power embodying the destructive force of ambition and balanced by virtue. Together, they formed a cosmic triangle that forever shaped Hyrule's destiny. Their clashes were never random, they were the physical expression of the eternal balance created at the world's birth. Whether the kingdom thrived or collapsed depended on how these forces aligned or opposed one another. Hyrule's legacy is also preserved in its people. The Sheikah carry the burden of duty, protecting the royal family across centuries even through persecution, exile, and civil conflict. Their mastery of shadow magic, technology, and prophecy shaped every chapter of the kingdom's evolution. The Gorons contributed unparalleled strength and loyalty, enduring every hardship with optimism and honor. The Zora upheld grace, patience, and wisdom, adapting to the flow of time like water in a river. The Rito took to the skies, guiding the world from heights unseen. The Gerudo evolved from a misunderstood desert tribe into a proud, honorable people capable of growth and change. Even smaller races, the Koroks, Minish, Deku, Mogmas, and countless others left their unique marks on the land, each race adding threads to the tapestry of Hyrule's identity. The kingdom's geography reflects its legacy. Every mountain, valley, and sea carries stories. Death Mountain, once shaped by the fire of Din, witnessed countless battles and forged unbreakable warriors. Lake Hylia, named after the goddess herself, became a sanctuary for reflection, magic, and healing. The Lost Woods guarded secrets older than civilization, while the Temple of Time stood as a physical link between mortal and divine realms. Deep forests hid ancient ruins where Zonai sages once walked. Giant deserts concealed forgotten temples of lightning and sand. Snowy peaks held secrets buried under ice. Even the ocean's once mountains before the Great Flood held ghostly echoes of the drowned kingdom. The land itself is alive with history, a silent storyteller that remembers every footstep of the past, but Hyrule's legacy is defined not by its tragedies, nor even by its victories, but by its unbreakable cycle of renewal. In every timeline, no matter how dark the age, no matter how ruinous the calamity, someone always rises. A farmer becomes a hero. A princess discovers her power. A child steps beyond the forest. A warrior confronts ancient evil. A shattered kingdom finds new life. This pattern is not coincidence, it is the living manifestation of Furor's courage in mortal hearts. It is proof that even when all seems lost, hope survives. The eternal kingdom has also shown that destiny is not fixed. Though the curse of Demise binds the fates of hero, princess, and demon, the outcomes of each age differ. Sometimes the hero triumphs and brings prosperity. Sometimes he fails and the world falls into decline. Sometimes the gods intervene with catastrophes like the Great Flood. Sometimes mortals rewrite fate themselves, creating new worlds and new futures. These varying outcomes demonstrate that the Triforce is not a script, it is a mirror. It reflects the choices of those who seek it. And those choices ripple across time. Perhaps the greatest testament to Hyrule's legacy is this: even when the kingdom falls drowned beneath a flood, shattered by malice, or forgotten in ruins, its spirit lives on. The Great Sea preserved its memory through legends whispered on islands. The Decline timeline held its teachings in scrolls stored in crumbling temples. The Era of the Wild rediscovered its past through ruins, ghosts, and ancient Sheikah technology. Every generation inherits echoes of what came before, learning from the mistakes and triumphs of past eras. Even when the physical kingdom disappears, Hyrule survives in its people, its myths, and its values. And so the eternal legacy of Hyrule continues, not as a straight path, but as a branching tree of endless possibilities. Its roots stretch into the age of the goddesses. Its trunk is the kingdom built by mortals. Its branches are the timelines born from broken destiny. Its leaves are the countless heroes, princesses, sages, and ordinary people who shaped its story. And its seeds scattered across time await new eras, new adventures, and new legends, because Hyrule is more than a place, more than a kingdom, more than a civilization. Hyrule is a cycle, a memory, a promise, a story that can never truly end. As long as courage rises, wisdom guides, and power seeks balance, the legacy of Hyrule lives on, eternal, unbroken, and forever destined to return with each new dawn.